So good morning, I'm Marylee Nunley with United Stroke Alliance, where we are about the prevention, the awareness, and the recovery from stroke. Now, for those of you that are paying close attention, you'll see that the little logo at the bottom is backwards. That's because when I'm showing something that I want you to be able to read, I have to turn the camera around. And that does not turn around. So either that's backwards or what I'm showing you is backwards. So, we just have to live with it. So anyway, I'm been talking about a big announcement that was coming up today. And I do have a big announcement with a slight delay. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. We've been working for about a year and a half, upgrades on our website and things to make all of that better. And as you know, electronic take a long time, a lot of editing and such. But the biggest thing that we are excited about is the DVD that we produced a few years ago is now on YouTube, and it's ready for subscription through our website. So let me talk a little bit about this, what was a DVD, and the name of it is You've Had a Stroke, Now What? Let's see, there we go. When the camera is backwards, everything, when I move left, it goes right. So that's the cover of the DVD, and a number of people have had this DVD, but everything's gone to streaming and everything's gone to downloading directly. So we've been working for several months getting these videos uploaded and all set together so that those who want to just from the comfort of their home click and watch these chapters one by one, all together, separate, can do so. So we're kind of excited about that. I have to tell you how it came to be. In 2004, we did our first stroke camp, and I thought that was going to be it. But as I've said many, many times, the good Lord had another plan for us to expand. So we've been doing these camps all across the country for 15 years now. And we meet so many wonderful people. We learn so much at our camps. It's being with survivors and caregivers. So that has helped us launch our Strikeout Stroke, our youth education. The things that we have done have come from people sharing with us what they want done. So this morning, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it came to be. We would have our discussions with caregivers and our discussions with survivors at our camps. And they share the authentic journey. They share the deep down, raw, and sometimes uplifting and sometimes heartbreaking things that are going on in their lives. And as we did this for a few years, it's like brain injury is so unique. There's no two that are alike, but there's always some similarities. So we kept saying, what could we do so that beyond just this intimate group of 15 or 20 people at camp, can we share these tips and tricks and insights and ways that those of us that have been on the journey a long time can help those that are not on the journey as long as we have been. But I remember one particular camp that stood out with me, and it was in Oregon, Illinois. It's the community of Rockford, Illinois, combined hospital camp. And Joan, one of our caregivers who has since passed, she was just kept saying, people need to know this. People need to know, what we're doing right here. There's only 12 of us. There's only 15 of us. More people need to know. And the stroke coordinator, Debbie Wysocki, both kind of took that and it became a conversation. So over the next couple of years, we decided to just see what we could put together. And it was a labor of love and a long project. But what we did for a number of camps was have a videographer and an assistant just talk to people, just talk to survivors and caregivers about their journey. We had a few questions that we asked, but mainly it was just conversation. So slowly but surely that evolved, and the videographer and his assistant kind of looked at all the raw footage, hours and hours and hours, 30 or 40 hours of raw footage, and came up with some categories that seemed to be universal. So they put it into chapters. We did this intentionally because we know that caregivers and survivors don't have hours and hours to sit down and watch some long video. So we have put it into chapters. Altogether, it's a little over 3 hours, but it's pared down to 4 to 7 minute segments, which we think helps in being able to watch it or watch it over again. So that is how we came to You've Had a Stroke, Now What? And this is kind of like phase 2 of that, because it's the same videos. And some of us, our hairdos have changed since then. Sometimes our hairdo changed from one video to another, because that's how we roll. So I'm just going to quickly go down the chapters and share with you the chapters that we put together based on what people said. The beginning of each chapter, we have kind of an expert, so to speak. And what we mean by that is it's someone that maybe has an in-depth expertise. Sometimes it's a professional, doctors, nurse practitioners and such, speech, but individuals who can talk to that particular chapter. And then what it does is go into the raw discussions that John and I had, other caregivers. Georgia's watching, she and her husband, Larry, who is one of that we have lost a few years ago, just talked about their life. And I think it validates what anyone is going through, whether they're 6 months out or 16 years out. So when you go to the website, when it's up and running, there will be a place to click. And it's $14.95 for all 15 chapters, all 3.5 hours. Once we get up and running, we will have a coupon offer. So if you want to wait just a few days or a week, we hope to have a coupon offer for $5 off for that first month. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the chapters. The first one, which there's an introduction. So you'll watch John and I with an introduction, and we'll talk about the video, and that's free. And then you can decide, then you'll see the names of the chapters, and then you can decide your interest in purchasing. I think it's wonderful, but you know, I'm prejudiced. So anyway, the first chapter is the new normal, life after stroke. And the new normal, we use it in so many ways, and boy, after COVID, are we going to use new normal a lot. But the bottom line is you do have to create a new normal. Life as you knew it is not the same. You can have a great recovery. You can have a 90% recovery, but that stroke, that brain injury, that incident really did change you forever. And so you're looking at your normal from a new set of eyes. The second chapter is family and friends, changing roles and relationships. And oh my goodness, we heard so many people talk about how they were abandoned by their families, others who were overwhelmed by their families, others that had great family support, every element of the spectrum. So that's the second chapter. The third one is I Need a Nap. And that reminds me of a story. We did a camp a couple of years in Kansas City, and there was a survivor there who was relatively well recovered. And she and I were having a conversation, just sitting some lawn chairs, and she was talking about how angry her husband was with her because she had to have a nap. And I was chatting with her about John, because ever since the stroke, John has had to have a nap. And I did some research, and I inquired with the neurologist and such early on about that. And it's a brain injury. There's a part of the brain that is damaged. So it takes more energy, simply more energy for the brain to operate, to do things, to read, to walk, to do whatever you're doing. And for many people, not all, but for many people, it causes fatigue. And that validation, she said, I came to camp for this whole weekend, and if I get nothing else out of it, the fact that it's normal and why it's normal for fatigue just means the world to me. So that really touched my soul, because I was just talking about how I had adapted our life so that I had my private time and I had things I could do while he napped. So we made it work for us. And some days it's better than others. Darn it, I know that word. Dealing with aphasia, and we have many people that have aphasia that are talking about how that works for them. We laugh, you have to laugh or you're going to cry, at the words that come out, the words that don't come out, and all of it. So that's specifically about aphasia. walking in your shoes. And that's advice for caregivers from caregivers, because it's kind of what we caregivers would like to tell the other world of caregivers, because we're walking in their shoes. Facing the public, going out in the world again after stroke. That one was profoundly revealing for me in the early stages after John's stroke. His sister from out of state came and joined us to care for him for a week, because I was trying to juggle so much. And we decided to go out to a restaurant for the first time. It was too noisy. The menu was overwhelming. He couldn't think of what he wanted to eat. And it reminded me that going out again requires preparation and observation. And to this day, there are places, or we're not going out now. We haven't been to a restaurant since probably February. But there are certain places that we can go and it works. And there are other places that we can't. Like if there's piped in music, John and I sit there silently, because if I say something, he says, I don't know what you say. I repeat it and I repeat it, and it just gets tiring. So a lot of times if we get to the wrong restaurant, we don't talk much. So anyway, that's facing the public. Lean on me. That's about stroke support groups and people talking about their different stroke support groups and what that means to them. I'm a huge advocate for that. Stroke Camp is kind of like a weekend-long support group. 5 dark clouds, and we talk about depression, anger, frustration, sadness, and anxiety, which are often things that go along with a brain injury, a stroke, other neurological disorders. So people share how they've handled those things. I have seen every single one of those personally in John's recovery. We're a long ways out, so many of them are under control. But boy, when you're in that phase, it's tough. True grits, and that's about perseverance. That's about keeping going when you don't want to go anymore. Exercising when you don't want to. Riding that stationary bicycle when you'd rather take a nap. So that's a little bit about true grit. And the next one, just one more time, that's the role of repetition with exercise, with language, with any task that you're doing. And again, I am so reminded of John's and my recovery through this, is that when he would do something once or twice, I thought he had it. And then a day or two or a week later, doesn't remember. A good example of that is the weed whacker. He can't remember from year to year the spool on the weed whacker. He's frustrated because he knows he should, but he just can't see it. It just doesn't stay there. So we sit down together and I switch it up, and usually we only have to replace it once a year. So it's all good. But repetition is so important in recovery. The next one is creativity, and that's music and the arts after stroke. And every camp that we have, most activities that we have, timers, all the things that we work, we have music involved a lot, because music works out of both sides of the brain, and it helps people with language issues. Art is also the same thing, like video, photography, art, drawing. We always do crafts, and sometimes the craft just takes you to another place. So we talk a little bit about how that can work in stroke recovery. Faith and inspiration. It's different for everyone, but we had many people who talked about how their faith and inspiration from their belief of their higher power, their belief of their solid operation in the universe, has helped them in their recovery. Don't forget to laugh, the power of humor in recovery. And we do, a lot of people in their interviews just got to giggling and laughing and telling stories. And so that's kind of a fun one. Attitude and motivation, which is how to find joy again. So that's chapter number 14. And chapter number 15 is outtakes and credits, where we give credit for all the people that were involved and helped us with this project. But there's a few outtakes that we didn't fit in a chapter, but oh my gosh, they were fun, and we want everyone to see those. So that is what we have. So I hope that is a good introduction into what we're going to be doing and what we're excited about. It's been a long project and it's been a long time coming, but we're very, very excited to be launching it.